Nobody warns you about this. You can be good-looking, funny, financially stable, and still make people quietly want less of you, not because of a flaw in your personality, because of a pattern in your behavior. Most of the people doing this have no idea, because these aren't dramatic, they're invisible, which happen in the small, ordinary moments of everyday interaction. Today, we're going through 8 of them, and I'll be honest with you, you're probably doing at least 2. Habit number 1, performing emotions you don't actually feel. Think about someone you know who always says the right thing. They laugh at the right moment, they look appropriately sad when something's heavy, they seem warm, responsive, perfectly calibrated, but something feels slightly off when you're around them. You can't name it, you just feel it. What you're picking up on is the gap between what someone is expressing and what they actually feel underneath. It happens most with people who spent years in environments where real feelings weren't welcome. Families, relationships, rooms where being okay wasn't a choice, it was a requirement. So they learned to perform okayness, and they got very, very good at it. Researchers at the University of Toronto found that people watching strangers interact could sense when someone's expression didn't match what was happening underneath, and it registered in under a second. Not because they were analyzing anything, just because we are wired to notice that gap. We pick it up as a low-grade unease we can't quite name. Genuine connection requires 2 real people in the room, not 1 real person and 1 well-rehearsed performance. Habit number 2, needing to win every single conversation. You share a bad week, they had a worse one. You mention a goal, they've already done it. You offer an opinion, they have 3 reasons why you're wrong. The compulsive need to be right or to be more is one of the fastest ways to make someone feel like an opponent instead of a human being. And here's the part that makes it complicated. Disagreement isn't the problem. Healthy disagreement is how we think better together. It's the motivation behind it that changes everything. University of Michigan researchers found that people with a strong need to be right are rated significantly less likable in social settings, not because anyone consciously identifies the pattern, but because they feel a quiet reluctance to share anything real around them. Nobody feels truly seen around someone who's always trying to win. They feel like material, like a debate opponent, and eventually they stop sharing anything worth arguing about. Habit number 3. Turning pain into a permanent identity. This one is painful to talk about because it usually comes from genuine pain. There's a crucial difference between vulnerability and victimhood. Vulnerability says, something hard happened to me and I'm still figuring it out. Chronic victimhood says something different. Hard things keep happening to me and someone else is responsible for fixing it. People who consistently position themselves as the victim in every story, every job, every relationship, every set of circumstances aren't processing their pain, they're outsourcing it. And slowly, the people around them become responsible for carrying it without ever agreeing to carry it. A 2020 study tracked how people described their relationship with someone who chronically needed to be seen as the victim. The word researchers kept seeing wasn't frustrating, it was exhausted. Like they'd been slowly carrying something they never agreed to pick up and didn't know how to put down. Vulnerability pulls people toward you. Victim identity creates emotional debt they never agreed to carry. Habit number 4, being unable to sit in silence. This one will probably surprise you because everything we're taught says that confidence means speaking up, filling the room, always having something to contribute. But the compulsive need to always say something, to never let a moment breathe, is a form of anxiety wearing the costume of talkativeness, and people feel the difference even if they never find the words to describe it. The person talking to fill a gap isn't engaging with you, they're escaping their own discomfort, and you're just the room it's happening in. Dr. Matthias Mell at the University of Arizona spent years recording real, everyday conversations, thousands of hours of them. The exchanges people remembered as most connecting weren't the most energetic or filled. They had more pauses, more breathing room. The silence wasn't empty. It was proof that someone was actually present. Think about the people who make you feel most calm. Most of them aren't performing. They're just there. Habit number 5. Who you become when things go slightly wrong. It's not the big moments that show people who you are. It's the small ones they can't stop noticing. It's snapping at the waiter when the order is wrong. It's visible frustration in traffic on a first date. It's the low-level irritability that seeps into interactions with people who did nothing to deserve it, just because something else in the day didn't cooperate. University College London followed couples across several years, looking for what actually predicted long-term unhappiness. It wasn't the big fights or the deep incompatibilities. It was the small reflexive reactions, the sigh when dinner wasn't ready, the eye roll at a minor inconvenience, the quiet impatience that surfaces when ordinary life doesn't go as planned. What people are really watching for, especially early on, isn't how you act when everything is fine. It's who you become when something goes slightly wrong. That's the data they're quietly using to decide how safe it is to be close to you. Habit number 6. Turning every conversation into a scoreboard. Oh, you've been to Paris. I went twice. You're running 5K? I used to do half marathons. You got promoted? My company gave me a full team. Social comparison is human. It's evolutionary. We've been doing it since the beginning of group living. But there's a version of it that quietly turns every shared moment into a competition the other person didn't know they were in. Stanford researchers found that compulsive one-upping doesn't just make the other person feel small, it cuts the person doing it completely from genuine connection entirely, because they're never actually present. They're always tracking the score. The people who make you feel most interesting when you talk to them aren't thinking about where they rank, they're thinking about you. And the difference between those two things is something people feel immediately, even if they never say it out loud. Habit number 7. Sending signals your words never approved. Your body is always talking, even when you think you've gone quiet. Most people put all their attention on the words, what they say, how they phrase it, the tone they choose, but the emotional read happens before any of that. The brain processes nonverbal signals first, before your conscious mind has even caught up to the conversation. Picture sitting across from someone who keeps their arms folded, eyes sliding away every time you try to meet them. Nothing's been said yet, but something's already been communicated. Now flip it. Someone holding unblinking, unsmiling eye contact, watching you like you're something to be evaluated rather than someone to be with. Both feel wrong, but in completely different directions. And the version that does the most damage is when someone's body is saying one thing while their words are actively saying another, because that's the moment people stop trusting the words entirely. We respond to felt safety before logic ever enters the room, and if your body says one thing and your mouth says another, people trust the body every single time, without even knowing they made that choice. Habit number 8. Negativity that never moves. Everyone goes through dark periods. Everyone complains. That's not the problem. The problem is negativity that loops, that keeps identifying what's wrong with no real interest in what could be different. The friend who's been unhappy for 2 years but closes off every thought of change. The person who sees everything clearly and does absolutely nothing with the clarity. UC Berkeley researchers found that venting with no movement toward change raises cortisol, your stress hormone, in both people having the conversation. Not just the one talking, the one listening too. Negativity that loops doesn't release stress, it passes it along. Chronic negativity isn't draining because it's dark, it's draining because it's stuck. And spending time around someone who's stuck gradually makes you feel stuck too, whether you realize it or not. So what do you actually do with this? If you recognized yourself in something here, that recognition is already useful. Most people go through these patterns without ever noticing them. The shift doesn't require a personality overhaul. It starts with one honest question. Am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or because something in me needs to? That question in real time changes conversations, what you say, what you don't, and how much space you give others. You don't need to become someone new. Just get more honest about the version of yourself you're running on, and decide one interaction at a time if it's still working. Real attractiveness, the kind that keeps people coming back, is the feeling someone walks away with when they think, that person actually saw me. That's it. That's the whole equation. If this hits something real, like the video. These are the things nobody sits down and explains clearly. And if you want to support the work, hit that subscribe button. I would genuinely appreciate this. Goodbye.